Welcome to another Photoshop tutorial. My name is Matt, I'm with Creativate, and today I'm going to show you how to add a face to a pumpkin. And we're going to be actually using Illustrator to start off with, and then transition into Photoshop where we'll apply all the glowing and the textures to the image here. And so, yeah, I thought this would be a fun thing being Halloween. I like Halloween just, this season. But yeah, I hope you can learn some new things. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to show you what I started with so you get an idea as to where we're going to be going. So I started with this image here. Not that one. This image is the one that I started with. You should be able to use any photo. This is some photo that I had taken years ago. It's a pretty old photo. But this is what I started with. You should be able to use any pumpkin photo, I would think. This would work for. And the first thing that I did, besides, the thing I was going to show you in Illustrator, is actually I masked out the pumpkin here. I just did a little vector or a path mask and just masked this out. I'm not going to show you how to do that because it would take, a few minutes, and frankly, it's not something that, I feel that is important to being able to achieve the final image here. So hopefully you know how to do that. If not, there should be plenty of other videos you could find to do that, but I'm not going to show you how to do that. So beyond that, picking your photo and masking out your pumpkin, you're going to want to pick out the shape or the look of the face of the pumpkin. You could probably do whatever shape you wanted. I just chose something basic to illustrate the 3D kind of effect going on here. And once I had the vector created, and I think I actually sketched this out on paper and scanned it in, and just did a trace on it. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to select your graphic and go up here to the effects, 3D, extrude and bevel, and make sure preview checkbox is selected, and I'm going to set this to 0. Maybe, I don't know why my 0 isn't working. And 0, and 0, and let's see, I'm going to rotate this, I think up just one degree. And then perspective, I'm going to drag this out just a little just to get some perspective here. And so you can see the wireframe of what it's actually going to be looking like. Not that you'll actually see it, but that's okay because we don't need to see it for what we're going to do. So I'm going to drag it out till I feel like I get a decent effect or a decent little bevel or edge. And then I'll let that go. And then I want to make sure draw hidden faces is on, so that it'll keep the faces behind this that I'm not seeing, because that's going to be important. So when I've got the depth about to what I want it to, I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to right click and actually I'm going to go here, Object Expand, and that'll convert the extrude into actual shape that you see right here. And I want to ungroup this and ungroup this because it all comes in groups. And then I'm going to select the front faces right here, copy these, and I'm going to come into Photoshop, and because I'm going to just start assuming that you're going to pick your image and mask it, I'm just going to duplicate these into a new layer or a new document to start with. I'll close that down. I don't know that I want to save that, and I'll just click yes. I think I did change some things. Okay, so now that I've got this here, I want to paste in a shape layer of these. I'm not going to scale them yet because I remember there's a few more pieces here, because if I remove these front pieces, we're going to have the 3D bevel pieces. And I don't know what just happened. That's weird. And okay, move you off to the side. And the back pieces, I don't really care for. I'm going to delete these, but I am going to select all of these here and come up here and to join these all into one big shape. They don't need to be separated. Okay. I believe I actually imported these on separate layers, the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. And that's important for when doing the shading later. So I'm going to stick with that, and I'm going to paste this in shape layer. And it's not going to be centered, but that's okay. Have to be exact, they just need to be close. Okay, I'm going to name the layer face, nose, eyes, mouth. Okay, and then I'm going to give them a simple orange color. And actually these ones I'm going to give just a slightly darker color. And just kind of come up in here into align it the best I can. Yeah, about right there. And same thing with the eyes. That doesn't seem like they're fitting for some reason. There we go. Just not aligning them to the right side. Same thing with the mouth. Now that's okay that you know, this stuff up here is showing, because we're going to create a mask later that'll hide all that, so that's all right. Okay, I think that's good, and we can just scale it. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to scale it up to the size to fit on the pumpkin and position it into place, which I feel, right there, maybe a little larger, will be good. So now, apart from doing getting the face in here, I'm gonna go ahead and actually just kind of set up the scene, just because it'll give us a good head start. So since this is the masked pumpkin, this is essentially the background here, and I want to darken it. I'm just going to create a curves adjustment layer and drop this down and bring this down. I think it's probably backwards. Oh, I need to have a mask up here, and then I need to invert it. And this took me a while to figure out in Photoshop. When you have a mask with its a vector, if you select the mask and come up here, you can change it to invert, and that was the biggest pain forever. But yeah, hopefully if you didn't know that helps you out. And because I was forever just having to change it over to a vector mask and invert it, or a pixel mask. So anyway, so there we go. So there's a decently good start. I'm gonna bring it down even more. Darken that image up. Okay. So apart from that, I wanted to edit the pumpkin here and give it some interior effect. So what I did also was, I know I created a layer to have a kind of give it a shading look, or almost a I can't think of a ring light effect to it, which essentially it just ring lights when photography just darken edges that are not pointing at the camera. So what you get is you get brightness with faces that are facing directly at the camera, and then faces that are facing like here on this edge pointing this way are going to reflect no light. And that's essentially what you do when you retouch a lot of photos you see in magazines and various things. They actually kind of try to recreate that by hand, and we're going to do that with a gradient. Probably already know this, nothing new, but I was just explaining what's going on and why that's done. So let's see. Oh, we need to reverse this. I actually want to do black to white, which I'm probably going to have to reverse now. Nope, that's good. And just set a clipping layer to that, to the pumpkin. Probably pumpkin B. And background. And then come in here and probably set it to color burn. Nah, probably not. Definitely not. That's not what I want. So maybe linear burn. No. I don't remember what I had it set to. Sometimes you have to play with it, even though I know what these kind of do. These ones down here are basically combinations of these two, whereas these are just, if you didn't know your layer blending modes, these are set to things to darken an image. These are set things to lighten the image. These are contrast. These are, I don't really ever use these, and these have to deal with color. If you didn't know that, that's how they're grouped. And yeah, I don't. That is not what I was hoping to achieve from it, but I'll take it for right now. And then I'll actually come in here and do an inner glow. Increase its size to probably as large as it'll go. And turn it to probably a nice dark orange. Set that to multiply. There we go. So we've got this darkening it down. And that's okay for right now. Okay, apart from that, the next thing we need to do is add the glowing that's going on in here onto the face. So to get started, I think I'm generally going to apply the general glow, which is going to be using, it almost looks like it feels like it shrinks. One second you put those on. But I'm going to apply the glow to here. So let's see, we're just going to do an outer glow. Dodge. Increase its opacity. Now it's way too bright. That's way too bright, and it's almost, the idea with this glow is that with the candle being inside, or the light source inside the pumpkin, it's going to illuminate the edges of the cutout here and give it some light, give it some, if you're familiar with 3D, because I've done several years of 3D, we're looking for a subsurface scattering effect here when creating the glow here. That's the reason why I'm applying the glow here, is to create a subsurface kind of lighting effect. And I'm probably going to go with color dodge, although I wish it would go out further. Here we go. That's just the spread. Yeah. And bring its opacity down. Just slightly. Maybe it's just down a little too much. I'm looking at the edges and it's a little too much. Okay, and that's just to get started. We're not going to end there, but that'll get us started. Okay, so the next thing, looking at this mouth, we need to kind of mask out that mouth up there, but we don't want to remove the down, the bottom part of the mouth, but these pieces up here need to be removed. So I'm going to add a raster or pixel masked with this, and I'm going to do that by selecting the object here and come up to this layer, creating a new mask with the vector mask, and oh, okay, there we go. It already practically did it for us. I don't have to grab my brush like I was thinking I was going to have to. So there we go. We already got that in there. There is one thing, if you notice here in the corner, it's not exactly perfect. You can fix this if you want. I'm probably just going to leave it be just for time for right now, but you'd want to probably come in and touch this. In fact, maybe I will. It should be pretty easy. So one thing in Photoshop, you have to have this selected before you can select anything else, or else it grabs the whole thing, even with this tool. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about it right now. That's one complaint I have with Photoshop. It does everything, but the path selecting and things don't seem to function when you would like, or like, not like Illustrator. But at least we've got that face hidden. So beyond that, let's go ahead and create the glow coming out of the mouth, I think, which is more of an optical effect, whereas this one here is more of a subsurface. Let's create an optical glow. So again, we're going to go to outer glow and just kind of pop this out, put some orange tint to it, and I like sampling sometimes just from an image and adjusting it from there. Let's see. It's not too bright. Okay. And we'll go with that. And we'll just copy this effect up onto the eyes and nose. And there's a really easy way to do that. You hold down your Alt key while having your cursor highlighted over the effects icon and just drag, and it'll copy the layer styles onto your other layers. So it's looking all right, right? It's not definitely not there yet. So the next thing to do that I want, I think, is going to be adding in the lighting effect coming in the back here. And I achieved that by actually applying a texture and then doing some, adjustments in there. So to do that, let's get a selection made with just the opening of the mouth here and the nose and the eyes. And to do that, we have to do a combination of, this might take a second to help me remind myself. There we go. I think I got it, and I'm going to have to probably edit it afterwards. But now that I've got the inside of the mouth selected, create a new layer. I'm going to set that as, I'm going to have to just quickly adjust it. Not super clean, but pretty close. Just come in here and paint this out. Because remember, we don't want that being, we don't want the light in the pumpkin to come out. And it doesn't have to be exact. Okay. Okay, I'll give the layer a name, and I'm going to grab a gradient. And actually, what I'll probably do is I'll just grab my marquee and do something like this, and then just fill it with black. And whoops, deselect that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce its fill. And I'm going to apply a layer style with a gradient overlay. And I just like this workflow better because it's easier to come in and just make fine adjustments as you start layering these things on. Sometimes you realize that you may have over applied an effect, or you're applying a texture didn't quite work as you were thinking. When it's all said and done. So I like to work in a workflow that allows me to go back and make changes later on if I need to. I'm going to set this to a radial, not reflected, radial. Remove this point here and I'll reverse it. Why is it still? It's not doing what I wanted it to. See, it's not the largest size. It has a hard time reaching the image. So, I don't think that's how I did it in the last one, but What I'm going to do is just fill the whole thing now with black, I think, and see what that gives me. Maybe that'll do it. And set it to radial again. Knowing that's the inside. So I'm going to come in here, set this probably to black, and actually set this one to a yellow, a very white yellow, and then set this to an orange because the light as it falls off is going to get colder, which is going to make it more red. And I'm going to set another point here to make it very yellowy red. There we go. And just kind of fade this out until it looks natural. That doesn't look natural yet. But right there, I think will be good. Okay, and then we'll scale it out. And I'm going to probably bring this down here and then scale it out. I don't like that transition right here. So I'm probably just going to make this go to white or a very yellow. Something just like that, because I'll end up applying a texture later that'll help scatter that. So yeah, I'll go with that. That way it gives an effect like it's really hot and the eyes up here are a little more orange. Okay, so I'll stick with that. And then apart from here, we need to add in the glowing going on in the eyes, which is the light coming, you know, that subsurface scattering, the lighting within because a pumpkin, as you know, if you lit it, it lets a little bit of light through. So we need to make it look like there's light traveling in between here. So to do that, I'm going to brighten the color. Probably come pick some color like this and make the same color for this, the same color for this. And then I'm going to grab my brush and create a new layer group. I'm going to call it lighting. And I'm going to create another layer in here and set this mode to color dodge. I'm going to call it light. And I'll fill it with black. There's several, you could do it a different way, but this is how I did it. And I'm going to fill this with white. I'm going to call this dark and set this to color burn. Grab my brush tool and I'm going to use, I've got to have a mask on this selected, which right now is going to basically be, so I'm going to hold down my shift key while holding my vector mask over here. If I click it with, I think, Alt or Control, it will create a mask from that selection, and then holding Shift and Control, I can add to that right here. Okay. So apart from that, because I don't want to capture, I don't want to apply it up there. I think I'm gonna probably just have to erase it. So yeah, we're just gonna Control click, Shift Control click, Shift Control click, come up here to lighting, create a group mask. So now if I come in here and erase or paint over this section here, because I don't want any of that lighting being applied to this. I think some of it may be like over in that area, but I'm gonna have to look. Yeah. So I don't want it being applied up here. That's okay if it's not exactly 100% accurate. It's not going to show too much. So, okay, there we go. So the way this works is you're going to grab your brush, and you probably could do this on one layer, but I like separating highlights and shadows on a different layer. That way you don't have any intermixing issues. And again, it just comes down to the idea that I can control stuff better later. If I don't like the shadows, I can bring them back, increase them, you know, with my opacity slider here. So grabbing my brush tool, I'm going to set it to the default colors of black and white. I'm just going to come in here and start painting around the edges out here. And that's actually way too much. So I'm going to set my opacity probably down to like 12%. And you can just type in a number on your number pad, and it should just kind of adjust it and set it for you. So I'm just going to come in here and just paint by hand. And I like doing it by hand because it's going to add some variations that won't look or help it to not look computer generated. So yeah, just come in and darken it up, darken it here in the corners. If you've ever seen an ambient occlusion render in 3D lighting, you know, it's obvious, but there's going to be less lighting here, or there's going to seem to be less light get through or emanate from this region here. Whether that's 100% true, I don't know. I've just noticed it when you render 3 stuff. That's what happens. And come up here and add that to the edge. Zoom in. Oh, now let's see. This is where that mask is going to play in. Okay, and just go around and add in. Ooh, need to make sure I have a soft brush. Okay, and again, set it at 20%. We'll see how that does. Okay. All right. I am pretty much, I think, set for this. Got a little up there, a little more in there. Now let's go in and add the highlight, which is, you know, making it bright on the inside where the light's going to be illuminating it the most. So press X to swap to my background color, which is white. Come in here and just do the same exact thing on this layer. And that's too much, 20%. So I'm going to set it down 20 or 10. And just come in and, you know, paint it. And if you lose a little bit of it to it, that's okay, because if you see a lot of your photos with people, their pumpkins, it's sometimes the edges are lost, and that's okay. Especially, you know, these really thin pieces here on the edges. I don't know why it's not gonna, maybe I don't have a mask in there. Oh, yeah, that's why. So I'm gonna come in here, and here's a little handy trick with that. I'm gonna set this to overlay, and I'm just going to brighten the pixels already behind it. And because it's obviously partially gray, I'm just gonna come in and just highlight what's currently there. Maybe increase this a little more, because I want this to be applied more. Same thing there. Okay. Oh, goodness. It's a little too much. So I'm going to have to erase some of that. And you know, it may not be exactly in there, but I'm going to come in here and grab my brush tool and go with white and just dab at this, and we'll probably redo it. Take another stab at it. Same thing with the white. It's just not what I was wanting it to do. So we'll just do these teeth over, starting with the darks, and set my opacity down to 1 or 10% is what it is. And yeah, just come in and, you know, if it doesn't have to be exactly right, that's all right. Oh, that's light. I'm not going to do any darkening there. You know, if I can make it, I don't want it to go too dark so that it's drawn away from the edge, because that just doesn't look normal. And a lot of this mask isn't the best mask. I think I may have done it slightly different. I spent a little more time making sure it was right, and I'm trying to be as fast as I can. So one more with the lights, the highlights. I'm going to come in here and just add it to it, and make sure it's actually white. Okay. And then go up here and do the same thing for the eyes. Yeah. Grab my shadows. You might get a little edge around here. I had to edit my mask afterwards by just kind of yeah, let's see how this looks. Okay. It's a little harder to edit this nose, being that it's so thin. That's alright. We'll make do with it. Yeah. I'm just gonna make sure I have the white selected and just kind of come around, and it doesn't got to be exactly, because there's going to be differences even within the pumpkin. So there we have that. There we go. So that's what it's kind of looking like. The next thing is to add a texture to this. I'm going to see if I have my texture anywhere in here. I don't think I do, actually. So I'm going to have to open that other document, the previous one, to pull it from it. And the texture I used in this one was basically just a piece of meat that I applied a distort filter to it so that it would look, because the meat was just kind of all over. I applied a filter so it looked like it was going up and down to make it look as best I could as fibers were going this way. And so I'm going to duplicate this layer and bring it in there. Duplicate, Untitled, and yeah, bring this down. I'm going to have to erase the mask and create a new one. Delete it. Yes. Because I only want it, remember, only want it applied in here. And it's kind of already doing that, it looks like, but I want it specifically only applied out here. So I'm going to copy this mask, and remember, holding down Alt key and dragging up will duplicate the mask. And this is set to an overlay. You can adjust the intensity. And I'm going to duplicate this texture and apply it to the back of the pumpkin on its mouth, and I'm going to offset it a little bit and remove the mask. So I need it to apply on the inside, and I almost could just say, oh goodness, we need to remask those eyes. I didn't notice, I wasn't paying attention. I need to remove those eyes, and yeah. So let me go up there and remove those eyes. Okay, and doing the same thing with the brush. Oh, hello. No, don't do that. And why is it not? Oh. That's because I need to go off of this mask. If I'm right. Yeah. So I need to edit this mask. Come up here to lighting, Control Shift I, apply that with black. And do the same thing with this texture. So Alt click or Control click, wrong one, and then Control Shift I to invert that and fill it black. There we go, fix that problem. So yeah, just pay attention to what you're doing, and don't do what I did and not pay attention as to why it's looking so strange. So okay, back to the texture on the back of the face. So it's going to be on the inside, and you could almost get away with just saying, well, I'll just apply it to the whole thing, but you don't want it to blend. So I'm going to go ahead and create this mask, which is just with the inside of it, and going to the inside of the pumpkin, bring down the color burn, I think is what I had it to, and I want to remove this from here. So while this is selected, I'm going to fill this with black. And not only am I going to fill it with black, I'm going to go to filter and refine the edge. I'm actually going to expand it by a few pixels just to make sure I don't get any crazy edges, and fill that with black. And it's all right. I'll just, I'm trying to be quick and not try to be too perfect, I guess. You would normally want to pay attention to the fact that there is this, at least if you can tell that it's going on in the image, then you want to pay attention to that. I'll just go through it, remove it. It's pretty easy. So the other thing with this texture is I'm going to offset it just so it doesn't mimic it. So I'll probably just rotate it, flip it horizontal, and make sure the link isn't linked to the mask. Turn that off before you do that. That way the mask will stay there, and I can just edit the actual texture, and I'm going to flip it horizontally so it doesn't match. And I think I'm going to come up here and do, is it color burn? Doesn't seem to be working. It should be applying it to this face here. Oh, I need to have it up one more layer. So I forgot about the, there we go. That's way too much. And I kind of want it, I think, with a hard light. Is it no? Vanilla light, too much. Good light. Kind of better. Too much detail, I think. So that's when I'm bring down the opacity just to give it a little variance. Yeah, just like that. See, and that's how I got that little, just a little. It doesn't have to be perfect. I think I liked the lighting. Oops, a little bit better. If you look at this one, yeah, the pumpkin's a lot darker, and the glow is a little less subtle. Or the glow, yeah, it's less subtle, or not less subtle. If you have less subtle, it's more. Yeah, so it's more. And so I'm gonna bring down its opacity just a little. Probably bring down this size here, and I'm gonna darken the background even more. I said it's pretty dark. Okay, and then besides that, I wanted to make it look like the light was coming out. So creating a new layer, I'm just gonna create my brush tool, sample an image from the pumpkin here, probably, like this color here. And I'm just gonna come out and, just paint it out here as though it's, throwing a light pattern. And then just come in and set this layer to, I think it's color dodge or linear burn. No, because I don't want it to apply in the shadows. No, is not what I want. I think that is it, and I must have just brought down. No, that's definitely not it. I don't know why it's not doing what I wanted. Maybe I have to duplicate it a few times. There you go. You get 2 or so times, and then come in here and erase the one here in the shadow. And there you go. You kind of get a pumpkin looking effect. And I'm going to adjust the hue. It's a little too orange, I think. There. Just like that. So there's the lighting effect. The glow is a little bit much, I think, with this one. It doesn't look exactly like it. And the pumpkin, I think, is a little bit darker. Actually quite a bit darker. And the glow on the outside of the face, which is, I think, coming from, is it just this layer? No, because there was another one. Yeah, I don't remember now. But I hope that gave you the idea. I'm not going to go through and kind of show you. I think I've taken already 30 minutes just to show you what I did and how I did this. But I hope you got an idea as to some of the cool things you can do with Illustrator and Photoshop in manipulating images. And I hope this gives you a chance to, create some cool Halloween graphics and maybe customize your pumpkin and give it a face that, would take you hours to carve. You could just do it, here in Photoshop. So thanks for watching. Comment and like and share. I would love to hear some feedback, and look forward to seeing you around. Thanks.